everybody. I'm going to be trying my best to continue on here in our project. Be back at programming. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay. This is where we left off last time. Right? So what we're wanting to do is let's see if this will kick on. It's my virtual environment. There we go. Hey, what's going on, Stardust? How's it going? Welcome in. Okay. We're back in our program here. We're trying to come to the full resolution here, being able to create products into our database and whatnot, given all of the constituents and whatnot. So we need to switch over, right? This has the ability to have statuses. So let's quickly grab our product model. And let's go ahead and fill in the necessary information here for our fields. So title, we're going to get rid of. You don't give a title. So we're going to look up title here. This is our title. You give a brand. You're not going to give a status. Status happens automatically. Right? So you'll get a brand. You're going to give a category to describe what that brand, what clothing type that is under. You're going to give a clothing type to describe what clothing type that is. You're going to give primary and secondary size IDs. All right. Then you have cost of good. Perfect. Then you have the date that we acquired this item. Doesn't really matter the order for these ones too much, but just keep it consistent. You have the source, which I'll probably put first just to have some order here. I like date acquired just in my mind. It has nothing to do with the code. It's just order of operations in my mind. So source, date acquired. Current stage gets packed in automatically via our backend function, create item. Notes here. Okay, perfect. This is our stuff. Cool. So let's go down. We have brand, category, clothing type. So brand, category, clothing type, primary size. So now we need to make a secondary size option. Hey, what's going on, Kamu? Thanks you for joining me on the Twitch. Appreciate you being here. So primary size, this label here is going to go, we're going to do this down. So this is going to be secondary size, right? Set secondary size, ID, select size. I think I'm going to remove that middle option to just provide the list of options here with it defaulted to the first one. Now, what we need to do though is this is displaying secondary size all the time. Oh, I already have it. I already did it yesterday. I forgot. Okay, oops, my bad. Yeah, I was like, this kind of looks familiar. Okay, and then we'll delete the option in the middle. Label for secondary size. And then we have this. If the length of available secondary sizes is greater than 0, then display this option here, right? So Beanie doesn't have secondary sizes available, right? Or I guess I could say if the secondary size system ID is equal to null. I think that will work, and that's probably, no, that displays it. I thought the secondary size, oh, hold on, we want to see. If it's not equal to null. So then if we go to category of bottoms, right, jeans has a secondary size. So now that dynamically shows with this JavaScript expression here, right? So category shoes has just a primary size, right? Whereas dresses has just a primary size for these ones. Okay, bottoms, jeans has a secondary size for jeans and bottoms. Jeans pants has a secondary size. Jeans leggings is just a primary size. Jeans shorts is just a primary size. Jeans skirt is just a primary size. Perfect, that's exactly how I wanted it. It's in the description, my boy, for the Twitch. Hey, Salo! Thanks for joining me. Hey, it's been a while. I remember your name on Twitch. Thanks for coming in again, man. Appreciate you guys for joining me here. You guys could follow or subscribe, hype, do whatever. I don't know. Okay, cool. Nice. So we've got that going. Okay, so secondary size. What else is in our form? Cost of good. Yep. Date acquired. So we just need to swap date acquired and source. Okay. Just for our visual purposes, stay aligned. Here we go. So date acquired, source is here. Okay. So source. Okay. So this is where we need to add the abilities. Yeah, hey, yes, Freddie, Fast API backend and React frontend, exactly. So this is where we need to now ping our backend for all of the sources and all of the sources. Yeah, that's it. Just all of the sources. And then all of the brands as well, right? Yeah, brands and sources. So const brand ID set brand ID. Let's just do one at a time here. Right? And it's going to be equal to a use state right? So we'll do the brand for right now. So here's our brand. Okay. So brand, we're going to need to display a list of brands for the actual options, right? So and then we're going to use a searchable thing here for that, right? Okay. So we need a list of brands. So really quickly here, let's go ahead and go to our top here. So we have brand, set brand ID. So here, const brand data brand data is equal to await get brands data, get brands. Okay, and then we'll import here get brands. So in our functions here, we need a getter. Export const get brands, right, which is equal to, oops, async, right? And so to get brands, we're going to try and do a call to our API. So const data is equal to, it would be, what is it, await client dot get, and we're going to get slash reference data slash brands. We're going to return data. So this will be, yeah. And then I guess we'll just throw the same error that we did before here. but just reformat it to our purpose. Okay. That's something cool going on. Hey, Caffeine. Thanks so much for being here. Caffeinated. Hey, Tyru, what's going on, dude? Thanks so much for being here. We're just trying to, we're building a create product form for our inventory, for our items, but we're having kind of some good like dynamism between categories, clothing types, sizings, primary and secondary sizings, and we're really trying to encompass a good range of fields that are dynamic and all work together in our architecture. And we spent a good time designing it, and now we're kind of just bringing it to life here. So, yeah, for me, my girlfriend's small business. Okay, so we'll throw this error if you can't get brands, right? So now we need to go to our reference data router and do a @router.get, and this is going to be /brands. And the response model, right? The response model, what are we going to be responding with? Well, it's going to be a list of brand read, right? And we'll have to create that. So let's define a function here called get brands, where we're going to have a database. We need a database session, right, to access our database to get brands. This is going to be defaulted to a dependency on get database. That's all we need. We're going to do a statement is equal to a select. And what are we going to select? We're going to select the brand model dot, actually it would just be database dot scalar brands dot all. And I think we actually just going to return this straight up, right? So now what's going to go ahead and do from server dot models dot brand import our brand, and then we'll do from server dot schemas dot brand import our brand from our schema, corresponding schema brand. And then we're going to need to do brand read, however. So that's all the brand reads that we're going to return back. But we have a brands router actually, so that goes in here. I'm dumb. We already have a get brands. Oh, stupid. Never mind, I'm trolling, so that was dumb. Let's go back to our functions here. Get brands is going to call brands. It's just going to call /brands, right? Yeah. And we're not going to have any. And then we'll filter on the front end. How about, yeah. And then if we need to create, we'll send it on the back end, refresh, and update on the front end to what we gave. I use AI to be my talking friend, basically. I just ask questions. We'll ask it to, break things down into steps, and then I'll go ahead and program them. But the actual programming, back end wise, I do pretty like 98% me. Um, like, front end wise, is about, I'd say, 80% me. I get it like into a nice bare bones that I like. I will have the AI do some of the JavaScript stuff that I am not very good at, and then I will style it pretty much how I want. And then so I do use AI heavily more for the front end aspects of things, but not for style. AI styling is cringe, so I don't. I like to style. I have some. I'm pretty good at styling, so I like to style, but and back end stuff, database and architecture, and think about ways things work together and that kind of stuff. But the JavaScript, I don't know why JavaScript just feels like such a weird language to me. It's like even I like C better than JavaScript. Okay. Um, that way, like I know pretty much 99.5% of everything in my code base. I don't rely on an internet connection to be able to, work, go through my code base, right? That's where I feel like vibe coders have a problem. Is like if they don't have an internet connection, if they're not on like a local model, right? If they don't have an internet connection, they don't know where to go through their whole entire database or whole entire program. I can navigate through all these directories because we wrote them. I'm a student learning Fullstack. Do you have any tips? Because most of the people around me just use Claude. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to be kind of like, um, now I will say, like, I don't think it's wise to not use AI like at all, right? That's just like not smart in today's modern society. The tool is there. It's not going anywhere. Closing your eyes isn't going to change the fact that it's not going. You're going to become that boomer guy eventually that says, back in my day we used to do things by hand, right? But so don't be that guy. Embrace what's coming, but use it in a blend to how, you know, you know, you know, if you're how I feel about it. This is just because I personally don't get much gratification. I program and I build things like this and implement my ideas because I get personal gratification of seeing things come to life from the efforts I'm actually, doing, um, day to day. Now, just one-shotting something and having it do it for me, that's cool and all for like the 0 to 100 like end product, but I get a lot more gratification personally through the journey. Now, I guess you could say there is journey now. I think I deliberately like lengthen the journey and take my time and be precise. Maybe mask it as precision. I'm just being safe and just precautious, right? I'm making sure all the inputs that it does give me, if I do prompt it, are correct or whatever. But um, I, I, I I think I use it as just a glorified Google search. Like, I have been waiting in my entire life for something. I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting for a product my entire life where I could just ask about any random universe question and I can get some sort of, vetted, not, some sort of, not vetted, but like, decently response back, right? Or I can take a picture of something and get, context about what is this. I literally just did that. I took a picture of my network box and said, like, can you explain to me what these individual components are that the AT&T guy installed so I can get some whole server stuff going, right? You know, those types of things just glorify Google searches to further the access to information, and then what you do with that information, you know, there's always been snake oil salesmen in everything you do that take something and try to sell it and whatnot, right? Um, but those people, the cream rises to the top. Anyways, I don't know. Okay, so get brands here. Where were we? Our create product form is now pinging get brands here. And then we're going to set brands. So brand should be a list, and brand ID is something that gets set via. So that's the hard part. I don't know when to distinguish between state and variables just within the actual JavaScript. That's some difficulties I have. So this would be just a const brands. This would be set brands, which is equal to just a use state of a list. Right? Defaulted. So now we can get brands and set brands to brands data. So brands data will become brands in our state, right? Now I guess we have first brand, which would be like this. So if brands data, because this, okay, so yeah, this hasn't refreshed yet. The state is still going, and then it triggers a reset on refresh or whatever. So, or triggers a refresh. So brands right now is just an empty list, right? Because it was just set and still within this this function here, this use effect. So we need to use the brands data here, which is still a list of objects of brands from our backend. So if brands data, now we want the length of brands data. If this is greater than 0, right? Now maybe we don't really need to say this. We could probably just say brands data question mark. Like, is there brands data? If so, set brand ID to brands data. Index of 0, right, to the list, the first object dot ID. But I guess what we can do is say if brands, maybe that's why. So if brands data dot length is greater than 0, meaning we have one, we have a brand object, which we should by default. We'll have a couple in there by default. We'll set the brand ID, but we'll also call const first brand is equal to brands data index of 0. Capture it out, and then we can just use this brands data.id. Similar approach like we did before. So now we have the first brand saved in an actual variable here, which we're going to need. Oh no, which we used right there. Okay, good. So if we hit this, inspect, go to our network tab, Now we have brands coming up, which is exactly what we want, and it's an empty list, right? Because if we go, let's open up our thing here, cd server. Let's try to find that old psql command. For Docker, here it is. Let's select all from brands. This should be empty. Yes, that's why. Beautiful. So we have no brands being sent. Now let's go ahead. Let's reset Tim, which pushing to prod. Don Soap, still my favorite. Hey Don, we haven't done much chemistry in a while. I don't do much chemistry at work anymore. I'm in biology, more microbiology lab now, and so yeah, it's chemistry is kind of in the past, man. Still helpful though. I still use it every once in a while. I still like consult on some of the stuff I did in the past. Okay, so create product form. Where were we? I lost my place. Brands. So let's go to our seed function in our server in our database. So our seed runner here. Let's create some brands here to seed our database with on initialization. So I guess to create a brand, what is it? It's just a name, a unique name. Yeah, so brands is actually just a list. And we'll just say, how do you spell Abercrombie? Is it literally Amber Crombie? Abercrombie. It's not Amber. Abercrombie. Abercrombie. Oh my god. Is that how you spell it? Yeah, Abercrombie. Let's say that there is I don't know. I know that's like a vintage brand that my girlfriend gets a lot. Let's do like 3. Look it up. Piece of clothing here. Where's our brand at? Let's do Levi. Let's do that's fine. Okay, so let's go down to our function here. Oh boy, where we're gonna put this. Size system and sizes category. Source name, sources, here we go. For brand and brands, We need to do a statement equals to database dot add. Oh no, so it's just actually we're going to add a brand, create, which is going to be name equal to brand. From server dot I didn't do a create. Interesting. I'm gonna get a phone call real quick. Yo, what up? All right, cool. We're back. Bro, yeah, you gotta read the title, my boy. um, so we're actually not doing creates here. We're just doing category dot where. We make a category. We normalize the name. Mm. So let's do name normalized name normalized, right, equals to normalized name of brand. We do normalized name. I guess we would do existing is equal to database dot scalar brand oh crap. Yeah, scalar was the select inside. Okay. We'll select the brand dot where brand dot name normalized is equal to name normalized. So we'll put that above. Say existing. Ooh. Existing. Say if existing raise. What did we raise before? Value error? Oh. Oh yeah. So if existing is none, then you add the brand. Okay. Existing is select here. If existing is none, then we're going to do database.add the brand. Name equals to brand. Did we? Why do I keep forgetting? I'm trying not to look at it over and over again for source. Oh, okay. You say brand and normalized name is the normalized name. I guess what do we would probably do like here just to make sure. Strip. Okay, I think we do that to the source as well. We strip. No, we don't. I thought I'd do that though. No, I probably should though, be safe. But I don't have any spaces in here. But it's guess we will title case these boys too. Okay, I should probably just write a function for like. Well, I mean, our create. This is just for seeding. Our create endpoint will filter all the ones that we want to have. So I guess we could pull a function from there for create. Name or whatever, but it's just a strip and a title, basically, and then the normalized name is just all lowercase. Right, because if we go to our scripts, helper functions, it's just a strip dot lower. So it's not like we're removing any special characters or whatever. So, if anything, we'll just title case the name strip dot title, and then let's just add a function in our scripts for helper funcs, and let's just call this name normalized name and then title name strip dot title. Right. And so if we go back to our seed runner, import our title name function here. Let's just open up our things where we add the objects here. Size system. So this is where we need to do the normalization of these as well, right? But the size systems and stuff don't change. That's why I didn't do them. You can't add size systems as a user, or as me on the front end, right? So that's why I didn't add in a normalization option under this category, but I might. I just haven't decided yet. So how about categories? Categories have a name and name normalized. I'm not giving it though. Oh, this is the select here, so this will be title name. Category, the clothing type, wear. Primary, secondary size system, clothing type here. Source ads here for title name. And then we can add that here. And then we can probably just call our database or ping our API and see these with our API and rewrite this whole thing and get rid of it once we get all that fine-tuned, right? This is just temporary, I guess, for right now to get some data, the pre-existing data we want in there, these structures, right? These constants for initializations of our fields, options to choose from. Then you can obviously add more from there. No, I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry, and I have a degree in biology and minor in chemistry, and I worked as a chemist for 4 years, or a little over 4 years, in formulation chemistry, control manufacturing, clinical diagnostics, and or not just, and then I'm in I work for a clinical research lab within the same company. I transferred. Um, we have 3 labs on site, and I kind of manage all of the equipment in all of the labs. And I am more of like an administrative role and kind of have a lot of communications with outside vendors and kind of more for how a lab functions and keeping the ground running for the processes for the wet lab scientists and stuff. So um, yeah, I kind of left the bench, the wet lab, the bench for doing more admin role stuff now, but it's kind of just how corporate goes. The bench is kind of like you get up into like administrative management stuff is how it goes for these kind of environments. It's kind of unfortunate. You don't do as much science anymore, but I do program sometimes for like KPI monitoring and tracking and building scripts and that, doing automations of report. I built my own like reporter module or uh like module, I guess module library, whatever. I don't know, like just in-house like class that just generates me reports for. I ping like this database. I was able to link it with an API and ping it and shape all of the data into objects and then be able to kind of generate reports automatically, which they really liked and stuff like that. So, um, but when I was a chemist, I built something pretty cool for like automating our matrix formulations, like actual chemistry scripting, and that was pretty cool. I do use AI. I chat with it here live on stream. I just have conversations with it. I don't really like doing code with it. I like talking to it though, and talking through my thoughts, explaining my reasonings, getting honest feedback. Um, seeing if my ideas are actually feasible, if my how I can translate them into architecture, and then go ahead and executing on that and stuff. So okay, so we have that. So I think what we can do is just run. Um, we should be able to run from here. Python -m server dot database dot seed runner. Dang it. Executable text instruction expected but got false. What call? Brand name. So what if there is none in there? Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Let's try this again. Damn. Yeah, okay, we had to restart the server to initialize the tables. Now we should be able to run our seed runner. Dang. Almost. So it's failing existing here. Arg name, argument error, message code equals from error. SQL acme execute argument error, executable SQL text constructor expected to be got false. So brand base from here should have a name normalized. Select all where brand name normalized equals to name normalized. All right, this is where I'll feed this into there. The important part of the traceback is this error. The problem is this line. The parentheses are in the wrong place. Really? Am I trolling? What? Really? Oh, hold on. Oh. Oh, my bad. That's literally it right there. Okay, cool. So now, if we do where are you? Yeah, there they all are. Okay, so there's our brands. So now if we refresh this, we should have brands. Ah! Full step! Full step! Backing! Fronted! Backing! Fronted! Um, can you explain what the name equals main is? Um, yeah, so I'm not that great at that. Honestly, I'll try my best at explaining it. From my understanding, is that this under special variable name is like associated at the file, right? Each file has a special name for like this Python, and so when this file seed runner is called, right? Well, when this seed runner is called, it runs this main function, which is um, right here, and that calls my other functions within. So it's not running this entire file from top to bottom, right? You know, running all of the functions that are called or whatnot. It just runs whatever, when you call this in the terminal using the command, it runs whatever's in the function that you call nested under this command, right? I think that that's how it goes, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So if I change this function here to the seed DB, it would just run the seed DB with, you know, which is kind of what I'm doing. So if my seed DB function had the session opening and then this happening, right, then I wouldn't even really need the main. That my seed DB would be called when I run this from the terminal, right? So let me ask actually. For the dunder name equals main, right? It just guides when called in the terminal which function to run rather than the entire file. So with main being nested underneath, it looks for a function to find main and runs that function rather than every, you know, maybe function called, you know, at the actual, you know, file level or whatever, for lack of better words. Oh, ran directly or imported, right? That's the difference. So if you run Python seed runner, it executes the file from top to bottom. It reaches the if name main. Since the file is being run directly, the condition is true. It calls main, which then calls a function foo inside of it. If instead you do seed runner import a function, yeah, I'm honestly pretty trash at that. Okay. So what now? What's our goal now? So we have brands now that are being sent to the front end. So we need to go to our create product form, and we need to find brands. So this runs blah blah blah, brands data. So available brands, available clothing. So I guess we're gonna have a const selected. Maybe we don't need this actually. We're not linking a brand to anything specifically, right? That's why we're saving these. Selected brand ID is equal to the, well, brands is an empty list here because we have categories and clothing types. Which comes from the use case of brands here actually. Okay, yeah. So this will be brands dot so the selected brand ID. Why are we doing this? We're getting the ID from the brands. No, we don't need this. I don't think we need this. So brands here, brand. So I'm going to, let's ask, I am ready to learn how to use the searchable and creatable input field. React state become brands, set brands, use state. What React select expects. Here's the first thing to learn. A normal HTML select wants something like option value 1, Nike option. React select doesn't. It wants an array of JavaScript objects. Notice the names. ID became value and name became label. That's the biggest difference, mapping your API. This is the problem. This is probably the simplest line you'll write. Suppose your API gave you brands, which equals to this. Simply convert it. Okay. So do we write like a function? So we'll do like because this gets brands here. Okay, yeah, so let's do const brands, right? Brand options is equal to a function, right? So we'll map all of the brands lists, and we're going to map every brand that's in the brands arrow function that opens up into this, and we want to map it for every value for brand dot. The value is going to be what? The ID, and then it's the label is for name, right? Brand dot name. We don't have. Then you would do a thing here. Close it here and then enter there. Okay, weird. Oh, okay. Create an object for every brand and have brand options. Okay, yeah. Return back to an array of brand options. So now we have a reshaped brand options here. So we have reshaped brand options. Brands map is not a function. Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting confused here. I'm going to take what I have, say, I'm getting lost. Let's slow down. I'm having trouble knowing Okay, so first, let's go to our front end, cd into our client, npm install React Select. Right? So we're going to install React Select. Okay, so we want to use the creatable select option. That's what I'm trying to learn here, is the creatable select. Import create a bowl select from quote React select slash creatable. Okay. How many years have you been coding for? Just over 2. Okay, so now we're ready to convert our brand input into this. So here is our brand input here. Creatable select. This type error though. Okay, so we have brand options, and then we need to have the selected brand, right? Which is equal to brand options dot find, and we want to find the brand, right? Where the brand dot ID is equal to the brand ID. So then we have selected brand here. A creatable select, name brand. Right? But then it would be brand ID. But if you don't find one, I guess, because you might not have it, you default to null. Okay, I need to make sure I have that. So you do a creatable select, a value is going to be of selected brand, right? And then what do you have? Options. Options, I guess, is going to be brand options. So you create value. Options is brand options. Yes. Okay, so now we need to have an on change. There's no placeholder, right? On change. What happens on change? Right? Well, let's take the option. So on change, you take the option as a parameter, and for this function, right, what do we need to do with this option? So if you change the brand, well, we need to update state, right? So it'd be set brand ID to selected brand.id. And then what else? Option set brand ID for that option. Oh, so on change, the change of whatever was whatever you're changing given here. If there's an option, do the value of said option, else it's an empty string. Right. And then you say is clearable. That's how you do that. That's how you use this creatable select component. Right? So the handle submit, we have product data here. Brand is form data.get brand. Right? This is just actually brand ID rather, and this is going to be brand ID. Right? Simple as that. Because we're saving brand ID in state on update. We'll probably do that for these other ones too, right? Okay, so let's see here. Brands map is not a function. This, we're still dealing with this error here. Want some info on it. Brands is not an array. Remember, map only works on arrays. Oh. So what is actually being returned here by... So here we're getting brands data here. Let's go console.log brands data. Array of size 3. Data is these objects. It is an array. No, brands is a list. Let me restart this server. Brands map is not a function at create product form. Brands never. Well, brands is empty state. This is my brands object. It's a list. Brand options does not have an ID. It has a value. Selected brand. Brand options. It's a list of those objects. It's an empty array. Freak. I don't know. I don't get this error. Uncaught type error. Brands.map is not a function. Well, brands is a list. Brands. Yeah. Which defaults to an empty list. It's an array of size 3. Which is what we want. That's brands data there. Brand options is empty. It's brands. I really don't get it. We're still getting this error. Check the state of the console log variable before it's used again. Check the state of the console log variable. Brand options. Let's console log brands here. An array of 3. Oh, it's back here. We were returning the entire response object, not just the data in the response object. Ah! So frustrating. Wow. It wasn't anything to do with the code in the front end. It was the API call. But it wasn't the structure of our actual API call. It was the middleman caller. Ah, frustrating. Okay. We're back in business, though. All right. Look at that. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so now we have those in there. So now we can move to the creating options, right? So we already have in our functions here okay, so now we need to do this export const brands, const create brand, right? AC given a brand object, right? Given a brand object. Or I guess just brand, right? Or data, rather. So you would do const await client.post / create brand brands / create brands. Right? And then you return response.data. Right, and then error creating brand with the error here. Okay. So client.post a brand. Okay, so now brands router has create brand here already, which you already have here. Right? Okay, so now we're ready in our front end create product form to include the create brand API call, I guess we're gonna have a function handle submit, right? So above the handle submit, we're gonna have a const handle create brand, right? Which is equal to async given some name, right? To create a brand. Okay, how would you do this? Okay, this is the format here. You would do a try catch, right? You'd catch any error. I just don't know the format of how to write these functions that well. Console.error, right? error creating brand. Our front end error, right? Kind of passing that forward. So our try, what would our try do? Okay. To create a brand, you need to pass that create brand function given the data of name, right? But it's actually is an object, right? So data is an object, and inside of it has information, right? So you're going to create brand. I guess we'll save this though. Const new brand is equal to create brand. And the data that we're going to give is name brand would be, yeah. Name. Right, so given the name, you save the name object, name key, and value as name. So that'll create a new brand. Right? Our brand is async, so we need to await this function call. Got you. Okay, so that's how you concatenate then. So then you do this. Then you call set brands, right? So to set a brand, the value is the previous, right, brands list. And what we're going to do is route all of the previous with the new brand. Right, so now we have a list of the previous with the new brand. I believe that that's what that means. And then we have another setter for set brand ID, right, via to new brand dot ID. Cool. Okay, so then in our actual component, the creatable select on change is clearable, right? Value is selectable brand. How does this update the on change? Well, on change, value is selected brand, options is brand options. On change for the option, set brand ID, option value, perfect. Okay, now here you say on create option is handle create brand. And that'll handle the creation of the brand. So if we go here, exit out of this, and add in new brand. Ah, shoot. Unprocessable content. Request fail for to async. So what error did our server give us? Unprocessable content. Unprocessable content. Unprocessable content. Unprocessable content. Unprocessable content. Brands / create brand given data, which is a brand create. So we sent this create brand detail unprocessable content. So create brand is expecting a name. Unprocessable content here. The type is missing. This is the detail I got. Fast API response. Okay, so we'll check our functions.js here. Create brand async. Oh, we're not passing any data. So we have to pass the data here. I guess it would be like data. You provide the data as a parameter here. Hey! Woo! Nice! Look at that. So now we have the option to create new brands if they're not listed. And it'll even like, so let's do like baby. Let's do like bottle pop, I don't know. So now if we do B O, let's do Betty Lou, I guess, something like that. Now if we do BE, we get these options. Oh! Nice. All right, cool. That wasn't that bad. I thought that was gonna be way harder than what we wanted here. Okay, so I think the styling is kind of funky though with this. So creatable select, class name border. If I get rid of this, what happens? Those go away. The creatable select has styles already associated with it. So I'm gonna ask that question. I don't know how to do that. How do you override the style? How do you override the style of the component? React Select's a little different from normal HTML elements or Tailwind classes. Only apply the outer wrapper. Okay. So let's go to a component here and let's create a component called referenced select.jsx. Let's export default function reference select. We're going to return we're going to pass props to here, right? So this would be an option of props, which would be, right, like options, on change, on, right, on create, and then the value of the specific thing. So you would return a creatable select right, return a creatable select. So I am going to use this one it gave me. It looks pretty annoying to write out here. So if we look at this, so the creatable select styles control. So in order to control the styles of the actual thing here, not just what's inside, we use these. So I'll use what the AI gave me for this one. I'm not trying to go through all this. Okay, so then we'll select value is value. Brand options is going to be options. On change option set brand ID. Set on change equals to the on change here. On create option. Right. So then we would go to create product form. Get out of here, import referenced select. Change this to a referenced select. On create. Use pass. Value, options, on change, on create. Nice. And so, but that didn't do anything with style. Border. That's that. Base. Option. That's right. It's like nested in there. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna do matching this. Okay, so if we go to the reference select, there we go. So what did it do? Just added some styling. Can I not use Tailwind only? Okay, here we go. Copy this. This is what I want. There we go. So now we can edit this. I didn't know how to do this. So class names, you can override these individual fields for the stylings of the individual like components of this actual like nested thing or whatever. Right, there's a lot of styling overhauls you can do to this. Right. Okay. So we'll kind of just universally use this component and the styling thereof to reconvert this over now that we have what we need via this reference select. Okay, cool. You guys still with me here? Anybody still programming along with me? Thanks for being here, you guys. If you could leave a like on the stream, that'd be really, really cool. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging with me. So we have the creatable selects that we're using here in place. Cool. What next? What next? So we have the ability to create brands. We need to do that for the source. Nice. People still here? Cool. You guys are awesome. All right, so now let's do that for this. We basically need to do that for the sources, and then we're ready to create products, I think, except we need to like, yeah, I think, right? So let's do it. Let's try it out. So we need to do the same thing for sources now. So functions, right? We'll copy these two down, get brands and get sources. Get brands and create brands. So get sources, right? And get create sources. Get slash sources. Return that, error fetching reference data slash sources. Create sources goes to sources slash create sources. Error creating source. Cool. Boom. See, once you kind of get the, once you kind of get like one of these done, it's pretty easy just to kind of copy and paste your previous code structure and just swap out the variables for and the API endpoint for whatever your specific thing is. Like, let's ask about that. I have a question regarding CRUD apps and the simplicity that comes along with once you already have the architecture set up. So once you kind of have a general create, read, update, delete template schema established on your API endpoints, both front end and back end, it's pretty much just copying those functions and replacing the variable namings and your endpoint URLs and just reusing the same function structures over and over again like I'm doing here. See, these are kind of questions I'm asking as like I go through and I'm like, yes, you are understanding the core idea correctly. This is one of the big aha moments when building CRUD apps. The first one is hard because you are designing the pattern. After that, most of the work becomes applying the pattern consistently. However, there's a little nuance. You're not just copying it and renaming forever. You are building abstractions so that the future CRUD resources become almost configuration. Right now, you're in the stage where repetition is actually good because you are learning the architecture. Your current pattern. React component goes to API function, which is Axios wrapper, which hits our fast API endpoint, which calls some service slash CRUD logic, which hits our database model. For every resource, we have brand, source, category, product, size. You repeat, get all, get one, post, patch, delete, right? Your current API file is already showing the pattern. These are structurally identical. The only things there is this brands, and now this is added sources. The next evolution is making a generic CRUD helper. Eventually you might do something like this. Then oh, so this is a CRUD helper that you can just call actually just this single thing, create source. Now you're not rewriting error handling at all, Axios calls, etc. But don't abstract too early. Okay. What Python backend are you? We're Fast API, my friend. Hey, Bland. Still here? Can you give a quick lesson on how you're seeing your code in real time, please? Um, I don't really know how to answer that. Can you? I'm gonna go get a drink, Ram Fetty. I'm gonna go get a little drink real quick. Can you ask it more specifically, please? Can you ask your question more? And I'll take some time here while we have some topping. If you guys have any questions before we move on to the sources, or I might end stream here, um, please ask your questions. I'm gonna go get a little drink, and then I'll answer your guys' questions if you have any for me. My name is Michael. I'm 27 years old. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I got a job right out of college back in 2021 and beginning of 2022 as a chemist. I worked for 4 years. I transferred internally to a cancer research laboratory where I work as like a laboratory administrator for kind of running the show of the lab and kind of managing equipment and genetic analyzers and things like that. Um, like a lot more like biology related things. Um, I've been teaching myself how to code for a little over 2 years from scratch. I've implemented code at both the chemistry level and biology level at my work, trying adding models, features, different types of scripts for improving, automating chemical formulation, biology. We've done options trading scripts. We've done stock just analytics. We've done chemical spectroscopy, chromatography simulators here on the channel. We've written Polywhirl, which was a polymarket prediction market, like a CRUD app analyzer for a better leaderboard. And that's still going. You can go on to polywhirl.app and visit that and make an account if you want right now. polywhirl.app. Polywhirl.app. You find cool leaders on the leaderboard for prediction markets. What else did we build? We built a thermocycler simulator for like PCR. If you guys have done like genetics, PCR, DNA replication, and amplification, we did a simulation doing the math behind that. We've done a lot of cool stuff on the channel. Like my GitHub is full of things, and my Discord. So make sure you guys ask a question. I'm gonna go get a drink real quick, and I'll be right back. Polywhirl's down? No, I need to restart the server then. Shoot. There's some sort of bug on Polywhirl where it gets stuck in this state where, no, it's down. Oh, crap. Okay, let me... I have to SSH into that thing, but I forgot I need to go look up the IP, and I need to restart the server. Okay, I'll do it after stream here. Oh yeah, the Poly Market one. Yeah, that one's live right now. Polywhirl is down right now. Production's down. I need to restart the server on it, but yeah, it's been going and tracking leaders this entire time. It's got a lot of data been scraped and collected so far, and I'm wondering at what point, and if at all, if the data is valuable enough to like sell. You know. Okay. All right, real quick here, then I guess let's just do the sources, and then we'll bounce out of here. So we have sources here. Sources router. We have get sources and create source. Cool. So if I think right, we have to have create source. Cool. So what we need to do is we need to add in some sources. We need to add in, so what's our next step here? Hold on. Okay, let's go to our front end. Components. Create product form. Okay. We have brands, const source ID, set source ID equals to a use state call, right? So we're gonna use state for the source ID, and we need a value for the sources list that will pull from our API. All right. So now that we have sources, what we need to do is we have here get sources. Cool. Set sources via the sources data. If sources data dot length greater than 0, const first source is equal to sources data 0, set source ID to the first source dot ID. Okay, so that'll set the sources and load them. Selected source is going to be source options, right? My eye. Source ID. Const handle create sources. Create source. Okay. The client tab on the right side of your screen, localhost, how's that being updated as you type code? With npm run dev. So with React Vite, you can run npm run dev, and that'll run in a local host server your front end. And then I have UV core running on my server instance, server directory for my main fast API instance, and those two are talking to each other via what's it called? Is it CORS? Yeah, CORS middleware across this origin here, right? So all my routes are being included from my fast API instance here, and my app is talking to this front-end origin, and this front-end origin is being ran from my npm run dev via npm, which is just the package manager for Node. JS. Yes, React with Vite. I'm assuming you're using does support hot reload. Yeah. What do we build in an app or what? Yeah, pretty much. Coming along to it. Okay, so where were we? We have sources now. Create product form. Handle create brand. Handle create source. Right? New source here. Await create source name. Name. Source is a name, right? Yeah. Set source to new source. Set brand ID to new source dot ID. Error creating the source via error. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this reference select, copy this over to our source, and replace the input here with the reference select. Value is selected source. Source options. On change for the options, we're going to set source ID to the option value. On create, we're going to handle create source. There they are. Woo! So now what you can do is if we have a new source, let's say we got something from, I don't know, let's just say like grandma thrift. Right, we create source, shoot. Create sources, not 404, not found. Post, create sources. Shoot, hold up. Post, create source. Sources / create source. 404, not found. What? /sources / create source. Oh, but it's asking for create sources. There it is. Oh yeah. Woo! Let's go. All right. And then like if we do like new source 1, new source 2, right? If we type in new, it shows us all of the available kind of relative selections, like similar filters. We don't have to do that manually. Nice. Right, Glenn? It was just a simple S at the end. Bruh. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. I'm gonna end it there. This was a really, really productive stream. We did 2 hours of building, where we incorporated API endpoints, front end endpoints to ping those API backend endpoints. We created front end components. We incorporated a current library or framework for the the searchable, creatable category selector, right, option. So we didn't have to do that ourselves. We just kind of imported one that's pre-existing, which is nice. We have the ability to create options within the actual select itself, which by typing in things and creating it, which is really awesome. We solidified a lot of, this was a really good stream. We added a script in here. It was all around a really, really solid front full stack stream. So if you guys enjoyed this one, please leave a like. This was a really, really cool one. Let's go ahead and git commit. Let's just say add reference input searches. All right, I need to do a better job of committing and pushing GitHub more often, but oh well. All right, you guys. I think that's going to be it for me today. This was a really productive stream. I'm starving. We have the ability to add these drop downs accordingly. We have the appropriate sizings being added on for the appropriate categories and clothing types. Clothing types and categories update accordingly for the appropriate subcategories and subtypes, whatever, and the sizes thereof. So next stream, what we're going to do is actually do all of these fields together and actually create a product and then save that into the database. And that is like the largest, most difficult part of the project, honestly. Like once we have this architecture for actually creating these items in the database, it's really not that hard. That's like the main core feature is the item, the products, right? Now, what we do with these products, right? What we do with these products, yeah, we'll have to have little, like a little warning message here if you go to submit that says like, hey, like this is, invalid or whatever. So we'll have to do all those protections and stuff. But so what the goal is that me and my girlfriend, we source items, right? We source vintage clothes that we try to find at a really good price so we can offer them to you guys at a really good price. We don't like to do this whole vintage clothing resale price gouging out of this, like paying $60 for a shirt that was 60 years old. No way. Like that's like has holes in it. No. Like you can have style for a relatively, affordable price. So, we source the item, we intake the item via the form generates the titling, this is all the basic information for a product, and then the form generates the ID, or the backend, the database generates the ID, the backend endpoint generates a title automatically, yada yada yada. This item gets transitioned into inventory right away, right? It's an inventory item, right? Items are automatically transferred into the inventory status once created in that endpoint. Now, once we post an item on Instagram, that's how items are first offered to our customers, is via a personal stock drop on Instagram, like a randomized drop, right? those items are then tagged via the poster of the item in the system as posted for that day. That item gets transitioned into status, uh, you know, listing, right? We have the listing status. It's a listing now, right? If it sells on Instagram, cool. The seller will then come and update the item on the form. Update it, nice, because that's more manual because it's Instagram. But if it doesn't sell on Instagram, we will post it on Depop. Our Depop scraper will pick up the item automatically, regex out the item number from the description of the Depop posting, match that item number to the item number found in the database, and update information accordingly for sales, discounts, whatnot. So the only manual workload that we have to do is the Instagram portion, because that is a more one-to-one, owner or business to customer approach of selling the item in the DM. Whereas Depop, we can have our scraper that we wrote last year scrape the entire Depop, collect all of the items, match the items to the database, and update the item fields accordingly. So if the item sells on Depop, we don't have to go and find it and update the sell information. It will be scraped, parsed, matched, and updated automatically from then on out. So the Depop is the final instance of the life cycle, and it will live and will die on the Depop. How does that architecture sound, you guys? That's my design. That's what we're building here right now. Thanks you guys so much for being here. Please leave your feedback in the comments or whatever in the Discord. I have a Discord link down below. Join Code Crafters for free if you want to learn how to program. Sign up, and that helps me. No one's actually done a paid sign up yet, so I haven't actually gotten any monetary from that partnership or whatever. But we'll see. I have quite a few sign ups though so far. So sign up for a free Code Crafters account, link down below, to learn and teach yourself how to program, building real cool projects like shells, all that kind of jazz. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me as we build up Bitter Linen. This was a super cool stream, and I'll see you